This week in Grace's Girls Club, we're diving back into the biology field. Someone pretty cool I want you to meet. Meet Peggy. Peggy, welcome to Grace's Girls Club. Thank you so much for being here. Please introduce yourself, tell us where you work and your title.
Sure, and good morning. My name is Peggy Salmon. I work at a company called Gene Capture, and we're one of the many companies out here at the Hudson Alpha Institute for Biotechnology.
Absolutely. So cool. I feel like every time I spend another week in Huntsville, I learn more about the depth of Hudson Alpha. So walk me through exactly what Gene Capture does.
Sure. So Gene Capture is a startup company, and we are developing a product that doesn't exist yet. So this is a brand new product, brand new technology. And here's where we're going. We're developing an instrument that can identify what germ is causing an infection in your body in about 1 hour and not requiring a lab. So something that can be done in a little clinic, in a school, at a border, just something that's very small and impressively precise to be able to tell what germ, which we call a pathogen, what pathogen is causing your infection.
Oh my goodness. That sounds almost impossible. That's so cool. It's almost like a flu test, but for everything, like a rapid strep, but for everything.
Exactly. And I'm just going to show you what we've been working on this last year. This is a cartridge, and this little cartridge fits in an instrument. And it's a really beautiful little engineering marvel because a raw sample, so let's say a sample from a human, a blood sample, gets put in this little spot here. And within an hour, we are able to tell which genetic signature of which pathogen is there. So we run it through all these processes, and this in this little cartridge is what happens inside a big microbiology lab. So that's been our big challenge, is trying to make this work in a small, inexpensive space.
Wow, that is so cool. And it makes sense you say inexpensive. Whoever would be ordering these from you, which I imagine would be a number of businesses, would probably be ordering them by order of hundreds, right? Or even maybe thousands.
Yes, I mean, if you just look at there's millions of infection visits per year, whether that's upper respiratory infections or wound infections. Um, so anytime an infection occurs today, that little sample is sent to a lab, like let's say a lab at a hospital, and then it takes about 3 days to get that answer. So we're trying to break through that barrier and give that answer in 1 hour, but right on site without having to move the sample any place.
Wow, that's amazing. So that's kind of the bigger picture. Walk me through specifically your day to day. What role do you play within this process?
Sure. So I am the CEO of the company, and the CEO is responsible for setting the strategy, building the team, making sure that there are funds to support the group that's working on all of this. And so it's a really fun project, partly because I'm surrounded by so many interesting science and engineers who are working in the lab or working on the instrument. So on a day-to-day basis, I'm interfacing with our team who's trying to develop new ways to process these samples faster. But I'm also dealing with our future customers who are the microbiology lab folks from different clinics and hospitals. And there's also a great interest in this from the Department of Defense because they have soldiers who are in different parts of the world, and they really can't take the time to send that sample back to a lab. So they're looking for something that could be done on site. So the other fun part of my day is talking to people who are going to eventually be the users of this product.
That is amazing. And I didn't think of you mentioned at the border earlier, and I was thinking, well, yeah, that would be a great use. I didn't think of soldiers overseas, but of course that would be a perfect use for this.
Yes, and the way the world is so condensed right now because of travel, it's what's happening overseas is just as important as what's happening in our country. So pathogens don't know borders. They can move from people to people, animals to people. So it is a global issue.
Wow. Well, we'll say we knew you when this when this makes it big and famous and is the next it thing, as I'm sure it will be. I feel like probably most, if not all, of these will apply to you. But of the letters in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, which do you say you use most?
Well, I'll say as a company, we use all four of those, and that's what makes it so interesting. But I'd say on a day-to-day basis, it's the S. We're using the science the most. And once we have a science solution, then the engineers come in with a way to make that science solution happen. And our engineers and scientists work very closely together. My personal interest is in technology. I just love the high-tech side of the world that we are live in right now. And we can't do any of this without math. So we do touch on all of them.
Absolutely. So walk me through, let's say I'm a young girl at home and I'm watching this and I think that's amazing. I want to be a part of it. Walk me through how educationally you got to where you are today, but then also what educational tips you might have for the next generation to follow in your footsteps.
Yes, and I'm a lot older than some of the young girls who might be looking at this for inspiration. I started as a biology major in college, and I love biology, found it very interesting, but I just didn't really see what a career in biology might be. That's different today because of biotech. So I went from biology to business management. And I thought growing businesses, especially a business that's doing something that's never been done before, is an exciting place to be. And so I have a college degree with biology and business, and I did not pursue a graduate degree, although I think that's important today. And then I got involved in small businesses from the very start and just have enjoyed working on new products and working with people who have a great vision for something new. And the whole challenge is how do we put it together? So I'd say for the young girls that are out there, business in biotech is definitely fun. No matter what your technology interest is, put some attention on communications because being able to describe what you're thinking and what you're doing is such an important part of business these days because we all work in teams. So having a team of folks that solves a problem is the most common way it works today, and being able to have good communication skills is very important. So get involved in public speaking or theater or writing. Do something that helps you get your thoughts outside.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. I talk a lot with one of my coworkers here at Way that you almost never choose your managers, but people always choose their leaders. And kind of being a leader in the workplace through that communication and being able to convey the point and have the team work together, like you said, is so crucial.
It is. And not everybody wants to be a leader. So even without leadership, the nation skill is important. Think about the group projects that you do and how so many group projects really one person does most of the work. It's so important to get that communication in early so everybody's a part of it.
Absolutely. So walk me through what your interest was in getting involved at Gene Capture. Obviously, you touched the technology, you touched the biology portion of it. That seems like those were both interests to you. You are doing something new. But when push came to shove, what made you take this job offer maybe over some others?
I'd say it was the impact that this technology can have. So when I met the scientist who had been working on this from an early moment, I was just so impressed that being able to figure out what is causing an infection without having to go to a lab would really make a big difference in healthcare. And so that's really what drew me to it. I thought this is something that could just make such a big difference for all of us.
It's so true. What is the best part of your job?
I'd say it's working with the scientists and the engineers. I know what problems they're trying to solve, and I like being part of the solution discussions and understanding how they're going about solving these issues. And when I say problems, I don't mean that it's like a problem that's a mistake. It's like a problem that we haven't figured out yet. So I think for me, it's working with the scientists and engineers, and then celebrating when we've got something that works really well.
Oh, that's awesome. So if that's maybe the best part of your job, what is perhaps the most challenging?
The most challenging is basically bringing the capital together to bring projects like these all the way through to the end. So it takes a lot of money to be able to buy the equipment and all the experimental pieces and the people. And then, of course, we'll have all of our equipment tested for FDA approval at some point. So all of that takes a lot of money. So I'd say the tough part of this is finding the capital to just keep the whole process moving.
Oh man, I believe that. I absolutely do. That seems like an expensive but very worthwhile venture. So I know you're busy. I want to let you get back to quite literally changing the world. But before I do, I want to ask, is there a piece of advice that you have for young girls in STEM, young students in STEM that want to join the workforce one day?
Yes, and my advice would be, as I was saying before, get your communication skills up, and that can be writing or speaking. But also, don't necessarily go too narrow in your interest. As you get through high school and college, and perhaps graduate school, your interests will change a little bit. So having a bit of a broad base is going to be helpful.
Wow, that is words to the wise. We talk about it a lot in sports, right? Don't specialize, see if you can be as well-rounded. Very true in academics as well.
It is. And thank you, Grace. Thanks for having a girls' club.
Well, Peggy Salmon, thank you so much for being here, CEO of Gene Capture. I'm so glad you brought that cartridge, and thank you officially. Welcome to Grace's Girls Club.